great Katherine Wong!
Man, you guys did not disappoint. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you guys. That was epic. That was a once in a lifetime, I'd say.
Let's go. Katherine, thank you so much for being here. I know you don't do a lot of these. I know the thing you should know is she executes at an incredibly high level all the time. There's no wasted energy in my understanding of like how you operate. And I've asked a lot of people. So curious for you, like what makes you you? How did you were you wired this way? How did you get to the point where you are who you are today?
So, and I hope that this is helpful for you guys to kind of hear my journey, because when I look out here, what I see is the leaders who will carry on and do better than I ever did. My origin story, thank you so much, is I'm the daughter of immigrants. And I think that really informs a lot of who I am and how I look at the world. My dad left Hong Kong when he was 8, didn't speak English. They had nothing, right? It's kind of your traditional story where he had to build up, and he wound up being able to go to college on an ROTC scholarship, but there was no money, right? So it was kind of just, he kind of scrapped and did what he could. And then my mom, they met, they got married, and then she came in her early 20s and didn't speak the language either, and just had to kind of relearn and do what she needed to do. So growing up with that, I felt like a very big sense of responsibility to build upon what they had done. I knew sacrifices were made so that I could be here, so that I could do something, and their ask was just do it.
And you had 4 options, right? Like tell everybody what your 4 options were.
Traditional daughter of immigrants, right? Like I could be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, right? And that was kind of the list, or president of the United States. That was the 4th. So that's kind of how I was raised, right? And as I was growing up, that actually wasn't that interesting to me. You know, I was like, I think fashion designer would be cool. I think, you know, I grew up playing the piano. I thought, well, maybe I want to be a musician. And so they let me explore all of that. But I think that was a little bit of the upbringing and some of the ask and just the responsibility I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're growing up in New Mexico.
Yes.
You find your way to BYU.
I do, yeah.
Tell us about that journey and when something clicks in your mind there.
Yeah. So I always felt different everywhere. I grew up as a little Asian kid in New Mexico. My dad worked at White Sands Missile Range, and then I came to BYU, and I felt different. I'm a minority, right? And then also just like I knew I'd probably be in tech somewhere, so I was taking these classes, and all the guys seemed way ahead of me. I was like, when did you learn all this, right? And they'd been playing on the computers, and I never was as a teenager, so I felt really behind. You know, I was just kind of searching for what do I do. I had a roommate who was taking a CS class, and I needed to do it for an elective, so I just thought, okay, nothing else, I'll have a friend, you know, in the class. That clicked for me. We had to do this assignment where you code a chess game. You gotta remember, this is like late 90s, so even the internet wasn't really a thing. Like, it was very early, right? And so just that experience of coding it, having people play it, I thought, well, this is really interesting. This could be fun. So then I just went all in on computer science, but still felt, honestly, super behind the whole rest of my coursework. I just knew I wanted to be around it. I wanted to be in it. I think probably a lot of what you guys have felt, like I just need to be near it and swimming in it, and I'll figure something out. And that's kind of how I felt about tech.
So are there any specific stories or moments you remember in this early part of your life where you're like, what am I doing outside of these, like getting into the class, you were excited, but like when did you feel, or can you share or relay to anyone here who maybe is feeling like you said you're behind, but like is there anything specifically that sticks out as moments where you were like, is this the right path? For sure, right? Like so, I graduated exactly the wrong time. I graduated at 2000, and up until then, there'd been all this hype about the internet, right? And like all these .coms everywhere. And then I graduate, and the bottom falls out, and I think, what have I just done? Because you got to remember, like when I was, graduating, everyone was talking about these millionaires that are made because stock options, and it's the janitor who's suddenly, So you grow up with those stories, right? And then I graduated, and I was like, oh shoot, it's gone. Luckily, I had joined a company. I had known, I think I need to be in a small company where they'll let me try on a different hats, because I knew I wasn't the best dev. I knew it. I was like, I get the theory, I understand the frameworks, but I'm not going to be the best one.
So I was in a small company. It was called mycomputer.com at the time, which ages it.
How many teammates are there at this time besides Josh and John?
Yeah, well, at that time, I think there were like 80 to 100, right?
Okay.
But this was before, I joined right before they had to constrict.
Okay.
And so, kind of going through that experience where they had to constrict down because just the market. And so then being one of, 10 engineers where you're going, okay, we're rebranding the company, became Omniture, if you've heard of that. We had a small business group and eBay was using us at the time, which was really cool. And so sold the small business part, focused on, rebuilding for the enterprise. Throughout this whole time, right, I'm working as a developer. I feel like a complete imposter. I feel like one of these is not like the others, right? So if you've seen that meme with like the cat standing up next to the, meerkat, like I felt like that. I even tried to dress like the devs. I thought like, well, maybe I'll just like fit in and I'll just kind of like wear
where's your hoodie
the
today?
t-shirts, right? And the hoodies. And so I did that. And I thought like, I'll just try and like put myself in to where it looks like I belong. And what was great about the company that I was at is I very much learned I didn't have to do that. In fact, that's not what they wanted. They actually wanted the diversity. They wanted the different perspective. They wanted like the strength of the team. And they didn't really look at me as, well, you're a girl who knows how to do this. It was like, you're a coder, so can you take this part? And can you deliver it, right? What do you want to do? So I had so many opportunities to wear a lot of different hats, which really was perfect for me. So I did architecture, I did design, I managed the tech pubs, like anything, because we were really scrappy. I mean, at this point, you're tiny as a company. You're just trying to, build out. We wound up being highly acquisitive. So Omniture went public, and then we were on a tear, acquiring a lot. And so I got to work on the M&A side of things. It was a huge experience. But I'll never forget, at one point, like one of our first acquisitions was in London. We needed to improve the integration of the acquisition. They needed someone to go over there and
how old are you at
focus
this point?
on that. I'm like in my late 20s, right? And nobody wanted to go because it was like, go live there for a year and figure this out. So I raised my hand. I was like, I'll do it. But I remember sitting on the plane and being terrified. Like, I've never done this. I don't even know. The company that we acquired, they had like PhDs from Oxford, right? And I'm like, look, I got a CS degree, and I've just been kind of working. So I felt very intimidated, but it turned out to be one of the best things, right? To raise your hand for things that nobody else wants to do is actually kind of a good move because I got to learn. And I got to live there and really experience what it was like to be in a remote office, to understand what it felt like to be acquired and all of those things, which was handy because we acquired a lot, and then Adobe acquired Omniture later in 2009 for $1.8 billion. So.
Yeah, just 1.8.
Yeah.
So when you look at that journey, I think there's a couple things I want to highlight for the young people in the room. You didn't stay in one role.
No.
You wore lots of hats.
Yes.
You weren't scared to raise your hand.
Well, I was scared, but I did it anyway.
Better correction. So it's okay to live with fear.
It is.
It's okay for that to be a part of it, but
Yeah.
what it can't stop you from doing is like trying, right?
That's right.
And I think that's something super important. You talk a little bit about the jungle gym. Can you maybe highlight that so maybe that can be something that people remember?
For sure, yeah. So, and I'm not the only one who's used this analogy, right? But I really believe in it. Lots of times when you start, you think like, okay, I know the job code, and then there's like a ladder of progression, right? You're like, okay, then I'll manage a team, and then I'll be promoted, and we'll move up. I really believe in and benefited from developing range. So a lot of the career moves I made looked actually like career suicide because it was like I would swing sideways. Instead of trying to go up to be like, okay, now I'm going to be an architect, I'm going to go on this track, I swung over and did like product management. Then I swung over and focused on M&A. And in some cases, maybe even looked like I was lateral or maybe even taking a step back. But that range, especially now, matters more than ever. You see the unlock with AI, you see what it enables us to do. So I think the high value is really going to come in a diverse set of experiences and an understanding of not just a highly specialized part of whatever it is you're building or delivering, but really understanding more end to end. How do you get from idea to revenue to renewal, right? And so that is really, I'm grateful for it. I kind of accidentally did it, but I really do encourage it because that strength, when we've got people in our teams who are like, look, I actually am an N of one because I did this, and then I went over here, and then I did this, and I tried this. You obviously have to develop like some expertise in it, but that breadth of experience, it's game changing right now.
I'm just going to add my personal anecdote to this one because Started off in sales, went to business development, went to product, went to strategy, went to M&A,
Awesome.
and then ran the companies that I rolled up. And I would say the only reason I got to do that is because I played multiple seats. And when we did the integrations, when we did the acquisitions, I could know what everybody was prioritizing. The same for you, right? Like, and especially in today's world, I would say specialists are going to lose to generalists more and more. Is that a fair way to view the world?
If you embrace the tech, right? If you embrace the tooling, then yes, I think the generalist and the person who can really not only understand, to your point, but I love what you said there. You understood the seat, because at the end of the day, we're humans and we need to connect. We need to connect with the mission. We need to connect with the ask. So by understanding the seat, you had true empathy.
Yeah.
You knew, like, here's what that feels like. Here's how we can align and how I can make the ask. It's
to tell the story, to get the whole company going in the same direction.
Right.
Like, so we don't need to fast forward all the way yet, but I have to imagine that in your role today, where you're kind of playing across the org, you can pull back from any of these previous experiences and be like, oh yeah, I remember this.
That's
this is what it feels like.
It does.
I can have empathy with this person who I'm about to go say they got to change, right? Okay, so Omniture gets acquired by Adobe. You're a VP.
Yes.
One of the youngest VPs, I'm assuming, in this world at the time.
Correct.
Talk a little bit about that journey, and then how you go, what happens next.
So when Adobe acquired Omniture, it was a new business unit for them. They were very strategically investing in, because everyone knew, right? Adobe had Photoshop, PDFs, all this stuff, but they really had this thesis around digital marketing and that interplay between creatives, right, and digital marketing, and that's why they brought in Omniture. So they did something that in hindsight, I did not appreciate what they did for me. They slotted me in as a VP. And at Adobe, that's pretty remarkable. They handed me teams to manage in Beijing and in Tokyo, right? They just kind of said, here you go. And they really taught me how to lead at scale. I did not have the experience that many of the peers did in terms of the path that took them there. I came through acquisition. But what I realized over time was, because I'd been on this crash course of very intense growth at Omniture, the pattern recognition was strong. I could recognize the patterns. And so that in hindsight was really, really helpful for me. But I will always be grateful for that. They had kind of more rigorous training programs. They gave me a lot of at-bats. And I found some of my best mentors there who would, they were willing to pull me aside. And not only were they cheering me on, but they told me the truth, which is really important. And they would pull me aside and say, hey, if this is what you're trying to accomplish, I like the effort, but here's some feedback on how that could go better. It was good.
For someone who's used to being a high achiever, how does someone get the muscle to receive the feedback? Because I know for young people in today's world, they got to get used to this, and it's maybe not something that is obvious.
Right.
How have you found that to be the way that you develop that skill to receive it?
I think that's an important question, right? So for me, I had to ask myself, would I rather know or not know?
What they really think?
What they really think. Would I rather get kind of, I don't know if it's a cheat code or just the feedback directly so that I can fix it and move on and get better and stronger, or would I rather just not hear it and kind of keep doing what I'm doing? When you phrase it that way, you're like, of course I want to know. Of course I don't want to waste my time. Of course I want to be more effective, right? But you have to get in the mindset because people will not willingly kind of push their way in to get, you wouldn't, if you're they don't want to hear it. So I do think you have to be almost overly open and ask specifically for feedback, because I'll hear, well, I went to, my mentor, the person I'm looking up to, and they were in the meeting and I asked them for feedback, and you did great. And I said, what do I do with that, right? And my feedback is, you gotta sit there and say, give me one thing. If there's one thing I could do better, what's the one thing? Then they'll go, well, okay. If you
really want to
one
know,
thing, they'll give you the feedback. And I still do this today. You're never finished learning, right? And so I still look, I still listen, I still watch, I still seek. I don't know if he's in here, Adam Edmonds, right? He's the CEO of Entrata right now. He's one of the most phenomenal mentors that I could have, because I'm able to do that. I'm able to kind of watch the patterns and ask the questions. So.
And just the cheat code here for anybody who's running a team or wants to know how to receive this, Radical Candor is a book by Kim Scott I'd highly recommend.
Excellent.
Care personally, challenge directly is the key element of this. you have to build a culture of challenging directly and caring personally. And if you can do that, you can create what Catherine's describing here. But it's not easy. It takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
But that was a book that's been really helpful for me.
I love that.
Okay, so the Adobe experience, you
Yeah.
learn how to lead, you have mentors, you get good feedback,
Yeah.
but you're part of a really big org.
Yes.
And there's a part of you that loves to build.
Right.
And the old crew's getting back together in a way.
Yeah. Well, Josh had already left Adobe and started Domo, right? So he was already kind of at it for 3 years. I had stayed at Adobe.
Okay.
I knew, like, okay, I've now kind of gone this whole journey. I want to do it again, but I want to kind of do it where I feel like I know what I'm doing this time. And so I want to try it. So I went and joined Domo and took them out of stealth. They were in stealth when I joined still. We got out of stealth, first customer conference, like we are running. And then took that company public. And then
So you're there. You were there for a big sale. Now you've
Yeah.
been part of taking something public.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
how long are you there after public? And talk about like leadership at a public company.
Yeah, so public is different, right,
Yeah.
than private. I think, there's a different cadence. You've got a quarterly pressure. You've got, different things. But I think if you always kind of go to first principles of like, well, what are we trying to do? What's the value we're trying to create for customers, right? And what's the team that we're building? You will be able to navigate it. It's a different life though, for sure. It's just a different skill set. But one of the things I like to talk about is just we develop the ability and the tools to lead in different situations. So we can lead in peacetime, we can lead in wartime, we can lead in a private company, a public one, a small one, a large one. But again, that's just another example of range. And so when you have these opportunities, I think it's important to evaluate, like, hey, maybe I should go do that and learn. So yeah, Domo was great. We built the product and scaled it.
Yeah.
And,
Now, I mean, I'm assuming battle scars along the way.
oh, for sure.
Any particular time where you're like, oh, we're screwed?
All the time. Like when you're building stuff, right? You're just like, you're trying to figure out product market fit, you're trying to get the contracts. And one of the great things about building a small company and growing it is you really learn that motion of adapt fast, listen. That's a motion that's really important to get a lot of practice at, I think. Some people are just natural at it, but I was not, I had practice.
There's a meme that comes to mind when
Yeah.
I think about these companies growing quickly. It's like the people who are on their two wheels on the car, they're trying to replace the other two wheels while they're still driving.
Right. Yes.
So I think you should be prepared for this idea that it's always a little hair on fire
It is.
in a fast growing startup.
Yeah.
And you can either embrace the uncertainty
Right.
or it's going to eat you alive.
I think that's a really good point. I think so much of it is mindset, right? So if you're in a situation, you just keep fighting it and saying, like, I just do not like the conditions of this, it's really hard to then actually take action and see through it versus if you say, okay, this is just a little bit how it feels to always be uncertain, to always be learning. I know many of us are, grappling with AI right now. I mean, I think it's very relevant right now. It's
100%.
the same thing where you go through all the emotions. I call it the 7 stages of grief, right? Because we got the degree, we know how to code, and then you start using the tools and you're like, wait a minute, this changes everything. So having the mindset of maybe I gotta be okay with learning every day. I gotta be okay with embracing being a student every day. And then it changes kind of how you are able to operate, if you just accept it.
Yeah, I mean, so you came over to Entrata two and a half?
3 years ago,
3 years
yeah.
ago now? So 3 years you've been at Entrata.
Yes.
30 seconds on what Entrata is, kind of the background.
Yeah.
So people know what
Right.
world we're dealing in, and then maybe go to AI from there.
For sure. So Entrata, I love it at Entrata. I've been there for 3 years. We're in prop tech, so we provide an operating system for multifamily housing. So most people don't think about it until you actually have to rent an apartment, and then you go, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, when I moved into the apartment, there was something that helped me sign the lease, pay my rent, submit maintenance tickets, right? There's a whole operating system that empowers or enables multifamily operators to do that and to serve the resident. And so that's what Entrata does. If you've, particularly in student housing, right, if you stayed in an apartment, the likelihood is that Entrata was facilitating a lot of that experience.
20 plus years that the
Yeah.
company has been around, right?
It has. It's one of the
Had to
OGs.
raise a lot of money for a long time. Just the last couple years, just did monster rounds.
Yes, but they bootstrapped for the longest time, just real lean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so talk about the transition from legacy SaaS to the world that you're now building.
Yeah, it's an incredible ride, right? And I think everyone is doing this in varying degrees. Even if you were founded 5 years ago, you're probably reevaluating, like, okay, what are we doing? What's amazing is, as much, and I say this as a technologist, right? The AI is amazing. The tech is so cool. But what I love about it isn't actually just the tech itself. It's what it frees humans to do. I know it sounds cheesy, but it is real. what we are able to do now with AI is transforming what our customers have traditionally had to source, what they've traditionally had to do, their limitations on how, front-facing they could be with residents, how they could provide a service. That, right, capability to do that and provide that experience it's incredible. It's exhilarating. I feel like every 2 days, every 48 hours, my vocab changes, right? The way I think about it changes because the technology is moving so quickly.
Yeah, which is an interesting thing, right? Because I can't tell you, I was just with Brian Beutler from Alianza yesterday, and we were talking about his business that's been around for 20 years and how AI is changing it.
Yeah.
And if you were to go like the second order or third order effects of this for your kids, my kids, the young people in the room, like how would you say in a world where AI is going to start doing a lot of the knowledge work that you're coaching or encouraging people to go towards these skills or this effort? How do you think about that?
It's a great question. I was just at SheTech, which was up at the Expo Center earlier this weekend. Ton of high school girls, 3,500 high school girls.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was amazing. But they all had the same question, like, do I even need to go to school? Like, I was like, yes, stay in school. But with AI, what is it going to mean? And the guidance I give is it will change, absolutely, our world. And it will, I think, bring about one of the biggest economic booms in history because humanity thus far has always gone this way. Like, whenever we get a big innovation, sure, jobs change, but more get created, more things start to blossom, right? So we're just in the middle of that though, and I don't know that anyone can predict what this ultimately looks like. The coaching I give is some capabilities are always going to be valuable, and that's what you need to focus on, right? So one, you need to learn how to work hard. Secondly, learn how to think and problem solve. You still have to do that. You're just gonna be unleashed with your creativity, really having a hunger for that. And then what they really, it surprised me, they loved hearing this from me, but what I really tell everyone is like, really learn how to connect with humans. Your ability to socially connect and navigate and understand like incentives and what people are trying to do, how things resonate with humans, I think is gonna be more important than ever. Because the tech, pretty easy to build now, right? It's highly accelerated. So in a world where everything starts to feel digital and faster on that front, what I see is a swing back to what you're doing, Tyler, which is let's all get together. The humans start seeking out the humans, right?
Yeah.
And say, like, let's connect. What really are we trying to do here? What's our mission? What's our purpose?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was an era where you would hire the jerk just because he was so good.
Yeah.
And you would put up with the jerk because of his output.
Right.
I don't know that world's going to exist much longer.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, because in this world that we're building or where it's going is knowledge and intelligence is going to be a commodity. And it's really going to be about how do you problem solve? How do you bring pieces together? I would be playing so many strategy games if I were a young person, like Settlers of Catan or chess or pick your thing. But like, you should understand how the myriad of variables are all playing together and how all these moving pieces, you have your strategy, but everybody else has their strategy too. I think you have to be aware of all of the moving pieces more than ever before. The idea that you can just be a coder or be a whatever or a sales guy and just sit in your little world and not put your head up and see what else is going on, I think those days are numbered.
I agree. I think they are. When you're able to be part of a great team where there is no jerk on it and actually everything's moving really well, Adam Emmons is one of the best master classes in, you get a chance to you should hear from him, one of these reference groups. He is a master class on how to build a team. And being part of that team was just really eye-opening for me to understand you can collect the pros who are just fantastic to work with and who are really good at adapting quickly to the landscape. And that's, I think, why Entrata is just doing so well.
I think there's been a lot of lessons from this session. I hope you're taking some notes because what I'm hearing from Katherine is incredibly valuable for everyone that I meet with here in the state. Maybe let's transition a little bit, but more along the lines of what could Utah do better? What do we do well? What would you like to see where we go?
So I think Utah has a lot of strengths, and we're all familiar with them, right? If we're here, we know there is a pioneering entrepreneurial spirit in Utah. There just is. We embrace that. And I think that is the heritage, right, that we get to all benefit from. I also think Utah has fantastic retention, meaning employees, they love the community. And so that keeps a lot of us here. And we tend to be more longer tenured at companies, right? Because we really do lock in. And I think that's one of Utah's greatest assets from a community perspective. Just gatherings like this, right? I mean, it's incredible. I think Utah has incredible opportunities. And I've seen, right, Silicon Slopes, I know that's kind of a common thing that's referred to now. I remember when they first drew it up on a chalkboard. And I was like, Silicon Slopes, why are we, right? So I've been in this from before. We even talked about it that way. What I think Utah has an opportunity to do right now, particularly right now, is AI has leveled the playing field like nothing else. I thought the internet leveled the playing field, not like AI has. And so there's a lot going on in Silicon Valley. It's beautiful, right? There's a lot, of just technology application in life sciences, defense, and some of the strengths in Utah. But I really do think we have a window where if we as a community really embrace it, we're on the forefront of it, I think it will be incredible. And my hope is that everyone in this room does it. You stand on my shoulders, I'm short, but you can still stand on them, right? And build and be better than we were. That's the hope.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
In kind of conclusion, what did I forget to ask you that I should have?
I don't know, I think we covered
Anything that any concluding words you want to share?
I would just say, I think the future is incredibly bright. If you're on X, it's easy to kind of see the doomsday story and see all the downsides to change. But I really do believe, I think everyone wakes up hoping that day's a great day. And I think everyone wakes up thinking, I hope I do a good job. I think if you extrapolate out, you think, well, okay then. If everyone wakes up hoping to do great that day, that frames every conversation, every opportunity. And I think, my invitation is just be curious, get in there, figure out the tech. And we were talking before this about how I remember sitting in college or being, an early career person and looking up at the people who had already done it. And from the outside, it looks like the journey was smooth and beautiful. Reality is none of us do. We're all making it up as we go along. We're all learning very rapidly now more than ever. Plenty of mistakes made, but you don't do it alone. You do it with a great community, you do it with a great team. Go find the team, build the thing. It's really, really invigorating right now.
Yeah, and maybe one other thing we talked about, which I want to hit, is I look at Andrea and Grace and Hannah and some of these young ladies, and I know this is a question you get a lot, but how do you balance being an executor and operating at great scale while also operating as a mother and at home? Can you maybe just spend a second there too?
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's a common tension there, right? And I think it's for fathers too, or you might have elderly parents where you're hey, this is a stage of life right now where I'm juggling more than just what I do at work. What I would say is you're a whole person, and great employers want that, and we recognize that. What I'll often talk about is I'm juggling a lot of balls. Some of them are rubber and they bounce, and some of them are glass. So the key is I just know which ones are glass and I don't drop those. And sometimes that's the moment, right? That's the kiddo has a really big event. I gotta be there. It's a glass ball, that matters a lot. I'm gonna drop a ton of other balls, right? And as long as they're rubber, I'll pick them back up. I'll get them. It's okay. And sometimes at work, there's a glass ball. There's a thing where it's this is an important moment. Team's counting on me. I really need to show up in the way they need. So that's okay. I think there's just
healthy tension.
Yeah, there's a healthy tension, and you just get really good at doing that throughout your life. And it's going to change. We were joking, what life looks like at 20 is not what it looks like at 25, 30, 30. It will change, and that's okay. I think everyone's responsibility, though, is to be in tune with where are you right now, what's most important right now for where you are. And sometimes it means that what I dreamt what it would be like is actually different. That's okay. I'm going to adjust it, And sometimes it means that, I hit a goal sooner than I thought I would. And so I need to adjust there. Then the other thing I'll just say very candidly is I get help. Nobody does this alone. So sometimes, I tell the kids, I didn't make dinner, but I made dinner happen. Right?
That was a fantastic line. But I think I hope the thing that you hear here is look at your life in the whole perspective. How will you measure your life? It's something that's unique to all of us.
Right.
And you have to have a formula for how you define success.
Yes.
Clayton Christensen has a book called How Will You Measure Your Life? And it is one of the top 2 or 3 for any of us to make sure we're looking at it as a whole person. So thank you all for being here. Let's give it up for Katherine one more time. That was fantastic. my people. Good job. Thank you.